Hi, it's Lisa Kent, and welcome to Dauntless Leadership. In this episode, we continue our wonderful conversation with New York Times bestselling author Daniel Pink. We cover a wide range of topics, and here we do talk about leadership and how very hard it is. I hope you'll enjoy this podcast, and remember, subscribe, download, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on your favorite platform, and tell your friends. Thanks for being here, and we'll jump back into the topic of burnout. If there is one thing you should do, because this is a leadership podcast, to motivate your team, what is that one thing?
So this is for
If
people who
you're
are
a leader, now
okay.
you're not just a job seeker, but because some of them are running entrepreneurial ventures, just like you said, as side hustles while they're in school, right after they're in school. And some of them are a little older and are already in managerial roles.
So one thing, I'm going to give you two, which is
Okay.
hire great people. So like who you hire matters a huge amount. Hire great people, and if there's one thing you can do once you hire great people is show people how what they do each day contributes to a larger whole.
How do you recommend doing that?
Um, by being explicit. So if you give an assignment to somebody, say, here's what I need you to do, and here's why it's important, and here's why it connects to the mission of our organization. It doesn't take there's no cost to it. So, to me, it's leaders have a lot of conversations about what. Here's what I need you to do. They have a lot of conversations about how. Here's how I need you to do it, but they don't have enough conversation about why. Why are we doing it in the first place? And if you're looking just for bang for the buck, having those why conversations is really helpful.
The why conversations for me were always I was in a profession that paid okay. I was in corporate America, but there's a lot of why and purpose around the volunteer work I do, which can be incredibly frustrating because there's never enough money, there are never enough resources. And just reminding myself and my team, in my case, I'm on an emergency squad, why we do it. Sometimes bucks people back up when they're feeling really down.
Absolutely right. And so for service organizations or nonprofit organizations, that's easy. It's easy to talk about the why. If you're running a ball bearing company, it's harder. But it's possible to do that. And remember that why doesn't have to be some kind of exalted saving humanity reason.
Right.
It could
It
simply
just has
be
to make them feel valued and
not
understood.
even feel valued. It's basically like they will feel valued if they know what they're doing contributes to something. And so if you say, we need to make sure that these accounts are all reconciled because we need to get paid so that everybody gets a check next week. Okay, I mean that's a why. And so it's good if it's something pro-social and world changing, but it doesn't have to be every single time. Just what I have found is that a lot of people in organizations are almost like free floating, like they're doing stuff, but they have no idea how it connects to anything that anybody else is doing or why it contributes to the larger whole. And when people know that, they do a little bit better.
So a good manager, a motivating leader, makes sure to take the time to not just say what needs to get done, but why. And that
Yes.
why doesn't necessarily have to be a lofty social, good for the world objective, although great if it is. And, especially in these times, I think people are hungry for feeling good about something.
Yes.
So if that's your job or that's what you do in a day or a week, I think that matters a lot. And I was thinking about your influence in my life, and I ran a business. It was a marketing and talent business before I sold it. And right around when I was at the point where I didn't think I could build it bigger, I read To Sell Is Human. So I think that was like 2012 or 2013, something
Mhm.
like that.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And it reminded me similarly about the why. Why was I selling? I wasn't selling to get someone to pay for some consulting services. I was selling to make their lives easier. And that really changed the game for me. That's probably one of my all-time most recommended business books to
Oh,
people.
thanks.
And it did really make a difference in thinking about selling as what I can do to help make lives better.
It's
And by
nice.
the way, that also became my mantra for my team. That what could I do to make their lives better? And guess what? The business grew a lot. So that was a very fortunate thing that I stumbled on that book at that time. And I don't even remember how. I I found it, but I remember carrying it around with me and then putting my name in it and handing it to somebody else at
Wow,
work and
cool.
saying, write your name in it when you're done with it and pass it along.
You
And
could have
after
bought more copies.
I should have, but I was at the time, I was in a very entrepreneurial space, so it got passed around. But you're right, I owe you. I need
You
a,
do.
I need to buy a few
You owe
more
me, you owe
editions.
me, you owe me like $7 of royalties.
So does that book still sell? And what book
Yeah.
is the most popular book right now?
I mean, the the older the book is, the more copies it's sold generally because it's been
Well,
out
that's
longer.
true.
So, that's what that is. Yeah, that one still sells, thankfully.
I feel like that's something that's really important for people who, and by the way, one of my recommendations is there are always sales positions. There may not be other roles, but there are always sales positions. Companies are always hiring salespeople.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a great way to get in. And if you're not comfortable, read this book. And
Yeah,
so
it can be a very good experience for young people to do that.
and it gets them in. There might not be
Gets
another
them
way
in,
into
it gets
the
them in, it
company.
gets them used to
Yeah.
rejection, which a lot of young people are not.
Right about here is where our listeners could be hearing your sponsorship message. Consider sponsoring Dauntless Leadership to reach our wonderful, motivated, talented listeners who are thinking about upping their leadership game in all walks of life. Reach them, if you like, by letting me know at Lisa at lisa-kent.com. We'd love to have you. Get used to rejection. That's true. My boyfriend used to coach people in selling, and he used to hold up a chart with I don't know 100 boxes in it, and he would say every time you put an X, a no, you're getting closer to the one yes. So you actually want to get 99 no's if you have to get to that one yes. And I think that that's really important, and you can't take it personally.
Exactly.
Um, Now, again, talking about leadership, any leaders in your career path that inspired you, and what can you tell us about them?
I have to say, I don't think, I've been working, I've been self-employed for a very long time, for 25 plus years. So, I hadn't, back when I was in my misspent youth, when I had an actual job and bosses. I mean, there were good bosses and bad bosses, but no one really stood out to me um, as exemplary. I mean, most of the time, people I'm dealing with, most of the time, the people, I think most leaders are decent people trying to do a really hard job under tough circumstances. And it's really, really challenging. In some ways, we have underestimated how difficult it is to be a leader, to be a manager, to run a team, to lead an organization. It's really, 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 really hard. And as a consequence, most people don't do it exceptionally well. They're trying, they have good intentions, but it's really hard.
I mean, that's part of what inspired the podcast. I feel like the investment in teaching people tools and techniques and motivational skills is lower than ever, and the demands they're higher than ever
Exactly.
on leaders. So who's going to help? And fortunately or unfortunately, I've been working for a very long time, so I had something I thought to share. one of the things that you talked about earlier was the importance of the relationships you build in jobs. And even as kind of a solo writer, I know you have a ton of relationships. The fact that you took the time to talk to me here speaks to that. And I like to remind people who are listening how important it is to invest in your network and your relationships, because that is the way I believe that you move forward. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I'll see you and raise you. I mean, you want to have relationships because they're part of what gives life meaning and purpose and satisfaction. That's number one. And then at work, a lot of the work we do inevitably is going to involve other people. And so even though, I'm a solo writer, I have to work with people all the time. And I'd rather work with people I like than people I don't like. And if you have a good relationship with somebody, there's a pretty good chance. I mean, today because there's so much work is project based that you do something has a beginning, middle, and end, then it disbands. Then you're going to work with people again.
That's a very good point. I think that has changed over my working career, that you don't go to live at a company for 20 years or even 2 years sometimes. So you have to be
Right.
developing your relationships and your portfolio of skills, which is the one thing I would have added to, like, what do you do if you're getting burnt out? Try to think of two things that you can learn in this role
That's
that will
good.
be important
Yeah.
to, building out your portfolio of skills
That's excellent advice.
in the future. Well, thank you. You wrote a book about regret. I told you I made a lot of mistakes, and so of course I have regrets. And one of the regrets that I had after having sold my business, um, I wasn't sure if I should have sold my
Hmm.
business. I did, and I'm in a great place now, but I had some moments there where I felt like I didn't know my place. And
Hmm.
anything that you want to share about the book on regrets, or how to address them, and any personal regrets?
Well, I mean, the book on regret, the book is called The Power of Regret. And in it, I look at this emotion of regret, which is one of the most common emotions that human beings have. This feeling that we have many times where we look back on something we did or something we didn't do, and we wish we had made a different choice, had gone a different way. It's one of the most common emotions that human beings have. It's ubiquitous in the human experience. And it gets a bad rap because it can be a very useful emotion if we treat it right. And the big problem is that we haven't been treating it right. So many of us ignore our regrets. We think that the way to be successful, the way to be happy is to be positive all the time, never be negative, to always look forward and never look back. And that's bad advice. Uh, on the other side of the spectrum, you have people who wallow in their regrets, who ruminate on their regrets. That's really bad too. What we should be doing is looking at our regrets as information, as data. And when we do that, when we stare those regrets in the eye, there we have a lot of evidence that it's a transformative emotion, that it can help people make better decisions. It can help people solve problems faster and better. It can help people become better strategists. And so the key here is to recognize that regrets are part of what it is to be human, and they are teaching tools. They're not things that should be ignored or things that should debilitate us.
How about in personal life? I found I lost both my parents in a short period of time a couple of years ago, and I had regrets about how did I do enough for them? Did I spend enough time with them? And a lot of the research and work I do now is around how do we help my generation take care of our parents
Hmm.
better. And I think in that case, the regret steered me toward trying to learn, first of all, sharing so other people don't make the same mistakes. And how do we learn how to do this better? How do we as a society learn how to not have so many regrets about that last phase of our parents' lives? And by the way, you know what? I got, who knows, 20 years left, and I'm going to be that person. So I want to be able to take that regret and turn it into something positive to help my kids with me. I don't know if you've had that
Yeah, I
experience.
mean, I think that the particular area that you're talking about is important, but the lessons, the approach doesn't really depend on the area that you're in. I mean, and you are modeling some of the behavior that we want to do in the face of regrets. So the one thing that we want to do with our regrets is we want to start by treating ourselves with kindness rather than contempt. When we have a regret, when we make a mistake, we're often very self-lacerating. We disparage ourselves, and there's no evidence that's effective. So what we should be doing is treating ourselves with kindness rather than contempt. Once we do that, we can begin to make sense of our regret by writing about it or talking about it, rather than keeping it behind closed doors. That when we talk about our regrets or even write about our regrets, we when we disclose them, that we lift a burden. But even when we just convert these amorphous, blobby thoughts to language, we make them less menacing. And then the final thing is to extract a lesson from it, which is what you're doing. And so if you say, I regret that I didn't spend enough time with my parents and now they're gone, you can say, oh, you can start out by saying, oh my God, I'm a terrible person. I'm the worst daughter there ever was in the world. I'm horrible. I'm horrible. That's a bad idea. It's not going to make you any better. I think what you say is you treat yourself the way you treat a friend. If your friend came to you, what would you say? It's like, okay, no, I understand where you're feeling this way. It's a normal feeling. It's within the perfectly healthy range of human emotions. So let's talk about it. Tell me more about it, and then let's extract a lesson from it. And the lesson there is spend time with people in your lives who you actually care about, and don't wait. So who are you going to spend time with in the next week who you care about, and make a plan to do that. And that's a way to start overcoming that regret. So we treat ourselves, so it's sort of like inward, treat yourself with kindness rather than contempt, show yourself some compassion. Outward, talk about it, write about it, and then forward, which is extract a lesson from it that you can apply in the short term.
Fantastic. And again, the book happened to come at a good time for me. But I would just
Did you buy
recommend to
more than one
everyone.
copy this time?
This time I had other members of the family who could benefit from it, and I could afford many books. So,
Thank you.
um,
All right. You don't owe
although
me that
some
$7
were
anymore.
Kindle versions, not all.
Oh, okay.
So, the power of the Kindle for me is like if I finish something, I can immediately have the next thing right there. If I'm on a plane, but it's not the same as holding a book for those of us who grew up with holding books. I'll talk about finding your website, your videos, and your books on this podcast. But what are you looking for in terms of success for you? What what would be great for you to see as a result of being here with me today? What would you like people to do?
I just want people to stop and think, to try to understand themselves and other people a little bit better, and to use that knowledge to contribute to the world. Nothing more than that.
Nothing more than that. So that's a big ask, but I think a great one. It's a great one. I mentioned that the description of empathy that Brene Brown used that made me think that I was not being very empathetic. She has a little animated cartoon, and the animal that's not empathetic starts his or her comments or their comments with, "Well, at least it wasn't this. You had a miscarriage, but at least you know you could get pregnant." That's not empathy. And when you talk about empathy, you talk about literally putting yourself in somebody's shoes, it seeing through their eyes, hearing through their ears. And that's something I want to make sure people hear too. Again, I feel like this time in 2026, we really need to learn how
Yeah,
to work our empathy muscle.
absolutely right.
So, can you talk a little about that?
Well, I mean, you did a good job of describing it. The what we want to be is we want to be able to understand where people are coming from, see the world through their eyes, um, try to get a sense of where they're coming from, emotion, but trying to get a sense of where people what people are feeling, and also and be on the same wavelength with them for whatever, leaving that cliche aside. So empathy is obviously very important as a human skill and as a job skill. But it's also we just want to treat people well and try to understand things from other people's point of view. That's if people made a little bit more effort to do that, it would be much easier.
I feel like,
We're in our own heads all the time.
and there's not enough of that happening now. And we feel like a less warm, more hostile place.
Yes.
And empathy can help, I think, at least with as many people as we can reach, feel better about that and the
Yeah.
world. I, are you not going to tell me what's the topic of your next book?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't
Yeah, I'm
know?
not working on anything. I'm not working on a new book right now.
Well, I have a bunch of ideas for you, and I would love you to teach me. So maybe I'll send them to you. We typically talk about women versus men. Again, although this podcast is for everyone, I feel like women have to go and leap over an extra hurdle or two to get to
Yeah.
leadership roles. Anything that you might want to share with women in particular?
No, not necessarily. I'd rather share it with men.
Okay, that's
That
great. Do it.
I think that some of that the onus on creating psychological safety or work environments where women are truly treated as equals is that onus shouldn't be on women. It should be on everybody, including men. And right now, for better or worse, men have a greater say in the workplace. It's vastly different from 40 years ago. Um, but uh, but I think put the onus on men. Men have a responsibility to create workplaces that are welcoming to all genders. And the same thing is true on race or sexual orientation. That the
Yeah.
people in the majority have, in my view, have an obligation to make sure that the places where they work, the places where they learn, are accommodating and warm and fulfilling for everybody, not just them.
So, on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for being here and close the podcast in the immortal words of Arlene Barnett. You don't have to know what you want to be when you grow up, just what you want to do next. So, stay dauntless, everyone. And thank you again, Daniel, for being with us.
Thank you, Lisa.
Take care.